and today I'm going to be doing my presentation on Costa Rica's Osa Peninsula. Specifically talking about Corcovado National Park. So nestled on Costa Rica's remote peninsula, one will find Corcovado National Park. This park is built to name for itself as a celebrated ecotourism model. With its abundance of diverse fauna and flora, it is often described as one of the most biologically populated places on Earth. Not only is the region a sanctuary for endangered species and ecosystem, but it shows how tourism can coexist with conservation through the correct sustainability practices. So let's talk a little bit about the development of ecotourism in the Osa Peninsula. So in the past, the Osa Peninsula has been subject to illegal practices such as gold mining and logging. In the past, these destructive habits have been detrimental to the region. So to combat this, in 1975, Corcovado National Park was founded. The park was founded in order to protect the ecosystems that were inhabiting the peninsula and a way to preserve its surroundings. They also started to develop eco-lodges. Community-based lodges such as La Barrios emerged and helped define a model of sustainable hospitality. They do this by employing locals and investing in renewable energy and conservation. So this is the La Barrios Eco Lodge. This is just a few pictures highlighting how in the ecosystem it is. The establishment of eco-lodges has further supported conservation by offering educational experiences and guided tours. These experiences connect visitors with the natural environment, and the lodges are also often involved in wildlife monitoring, habitat restoration projects, and carbon offset programs. As for the environmental impact, obviously, again, Corcovado National Park will have an impact on the environment because it is home to over 500 tree species, 140 mammal species, and 400 bird species, including endangered jaguars, tapirs, and scarlet macaws. So just homing those species has a significant positive environmental impact. Another environmental impact can be the over-tourism risks. So because of the increased tourist presence, it can disrupt the fragile ecosystems if carrying capacities are exceeded. Carrying capacity is a major focus in sustainability practices regarding tourist destinations. Seasonal surges in visitation can lead to trail erosion and wildlife disturbances as well. Another environmental impact is sustainable practices. The introduction of certain sustainable practices like designated trails, limited group sizes, and strict park access permits have greatly minimized the human impact on the park. The park also uses environmental indicators to monitor the health of surrounding ecosystems in the region and adapts management strategies accordingly. These are a few pictures of the aforementioned flora and fauna of the Osa Peninsula. So we have a picture of the jaguar, different bird species, the tapir, and just a couple of plants that inhabit the peninsula. Moving on to the socio-cultural impact. The Corcovado National Park has provided jobs and infrastructure. Local guides offer tours that share indigenous knowledge and promote cultural pride. The La Barrios Eco Lodge has significantly contributed to both the environmental conservation and local community development. Still, tourism can introduce social risk. So because of an increased dependence on outside economies, some caution that without continuous community involvement, tourism may erode traditional practices within the existing culture. There are ways that they combat this that we will get into later. And also cultural exchanges. This is another socio-cultural impact. Ecotourism promotes cultural exchanges between tourists and residents, which can foster a greater understanding and appreciation of local traditions, especially when a guest is very immersed in the experience, such as at the La Barrios. Let me just go back to show it. since, as you can see, if you're staying in these eco lodges, you're very immersed in the environment, which can make, the experience a little bit more close to home instead of just learning from afar. These are a few pictures of the locals of the Osa Peninsula, just doing the various different tasks of the park. You can see them, giving tours and also doing horseback riding. This gentleman is panning for gold, which is not illegal. And this guy is just enjoying the sun in the top left. So now moving on to the economic impact. Tourism in Corcovado generates income for local families through guiding tours, hospitality, transportation, and craft sales. This definitely can have an impact on the local economy because it is generating income for those local families. Lodges like the Laparios employ locals and purchase goods from nearby producers. However, there are some inequities with access. Economic benefits are not evenly distributed. Some remote communities still face these barriers to participation, mainly due to lack of access, education, or infrastructure. And I have recommendations to fix that at the end of this presentation. And then also seasonal fluctuations. So peak visitor seasons bring income highs, but the off-season can lead to instability for families that are reliant on tourism. To counteract this, some lodges like Laparios offer year-round employment or off-season training programs. Technological role. So there are multiple different technologies that Corcovado implements to keeping the area sustainable. The lodges utilize solar panels, composting toilets, rainwater harvesting, and gray water systems. They use these technologies to minimize their ecological footprint. They also use GIS mapping and camera traps. By utilizing these, they can track wildlife population and keep a closer eye on poaching around the park. These innovations support the dual goals of conservation and visitor experience. Mobile apps are also paving the way. Mobile applications are now being used to allow visitors access to self-guided tour information, conservation tips, and park regulations. So these are some of the policies and initiatives that Corcovado sticks by. They have different zoning regulations as to where people are allowed to build, and nobody is allowed to build in the Corcovado National Parks unless they go through, what the various eco lodges have. There also is the Costa Rica Certification for Sustainable Tourism, which is something that is specific to Costa Rica. And something else that they also follow is they fall under the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which is, I think, 9 goals to develop more sustainably. So these are my recommendations for Corcovado National Park. I think that they need to expand the community training programs. And more specifically, programs that are led by locals. So these programs should be led by eco-lodges, academic institutions, and non-governmental organizations to ensure practical and culturally relevant instruction. I also think that we need to improve access to these remote communities, as I said earlier. So solar-powered buses and improved rural roads that minimize the environmental impact, but can still bridge that digital divide in the remote regions of OSA. And also implementing real-time visitor tracking systems to make it so that those carrying capacities aren't being, reached or gone over. These systems use mobile app check-ins or trail sensors to monitor trail use and limit access when these limits are reached. This ensures the protection of wildlife habitats. So, in conclusion, Corcovado National Park, located on Costa Rica's Osa Peninsula, is a testament to what ecotourism can achieve when managed with care, inclusivity, and vision. Through a combination of leadership, scientific collaboration, and policy innovation, the region has preserved one of the world's most vital ecosystems while creating economic opportunities for local communities. So I added in this discussion questions panel when we were still having the presentations in class. If y'all want to comment your answers down below, if you're watching, but I'll just go ahead and ask them. So, what is the name of the premier eco lodge located in Costa Rica's Osa Peninsula? Lapa Rios, yes. Lapa Rios is the name of the premier eco lodge located in Costa Rica's Osa Peninsula. Okay, so name one of the ways that ecotourism can impact the environment, negative or positive. I'll wait. Right. Ecotourism can definitely positively impact the environment if, a national park is founded just like Corcovado. Good job. Okay, guys, last question. What new technologies are eco lodges adapting to protect the environment, such as places like the Lapa Rios? Yes, GIS mapping and camera traps are being used to protect the environment. Good job. Sounds like you guys were listening and definitely taking in my presentation. So that is all that I have. I just put this little quote with a couple more pictures. So, when done right, tourism can protect the natural and cultural treasures of a place rather than destroy them. And that's it. I guess I also just want to say that I feel like the main focus of this class is that it's not always going to be perfect, but at least trying to be sustainable is the best thing that anybody can do. So, thank you.